Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Control your own destiny, or someone else will. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to walk from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to get to, said the cat. I don't much care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way to walk, said the cat. From Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It's a rainy day, and you're stuck indoors. You and a friend decide to put on some music and do a jigsaw puzzle for old time's sake. You pour out all 1,000 pieces, spreading them out across a large table. You check out the lid to the box to see what you're putting together. But there's no picture. It's blank. How will you guys ever be able to finish the puzzle without knowing what it looks like? If you had a 1-second glimpse of what it's supposed to be, that's all you'd need. What a difference it would make. Without it, you have no clue where to even start. Now think about your own life and your 1,000 pieces, or at least 1,000. Do you have an end in mind? Do you have a clear picture, even an idea of who you want to be 1 year from now, 5 years from now? Or do you feel lost? Habit 2, begin with the end in mind, means developing a clear picture of where you want to go with your life. It means deciding what your values are and setting goals. Habit 1 says you're the driver of your life, not the passenger. Habit 2 says, since you're the driver, decide where to go and draw a map of how to get there. Hold up, you might be thinking. I'm too young to have an end in mind. I don't know where I want to be when I grow up, and frankly, right now I don't care. If it makes you feel any better, I'm grown up and I still don't know what I want to be. By saying begin with the end in mind, I'm not talking about deciding every little detail of your future, like choosing your career or deciding who you'll marry. I'm simply talking about thinking beyond today and deciding what direction you want to take so that each step you take is always in the right direction. Begin with the end in mind, what it means. You may not realize it, but you do it all the time. Begin with the end in mind, that is. You draw up a blueprint before you build a house. You read a recipe before you bake a cake. You create an outline before you write a paper. At least I hope you do all these. It's part of life. Let's have a begin with the end in mind experience right now using your tool of imagination. Find a place where you can be alone without interruption. There. Now clear your mind of everything. Don't think about texting your friend. Forget about the zit on your forehead. Just focus with me for a second. Breathe deeply and open your brain wide. In your mind's eye, visualize someone walking toward you about a half a block away. At first, you can't see who it is. As this person gets closer and closer, you suddenly realize, believe it or not, it's you. But it's not you today. It's you as you'd like to be 1 year from now. Now think deeply. What have you done with your life over the past year? How do you feel inside? What do you look like? Has your personality grown? Remember, this is you as you would like to be 1 year from now. You can float back to reality now. If you were a good sport and actually tried this experiment, you probably got in touch with your deeper self. You got a feel for what's important to you and what you'd like to accomplish this next year. That's what beginning with the end in mind is all about, and it doesn't even hurt. As Jim discovered, beginning with the end in mind is a powerful way to help turn your dreams into realities. When I feel frustrated or get depressed, I found something that really helps me. I go someplace where I can be alone, and then I close my eyes and visualize mentally where I want to be and where I want to go. And when I'm older, I try to see the whole picture of my dream life, and then I automatically begin to think about what it's going to take to get there, what I need to change. This technique started when I was a ninth grader, and today I'm on my way to making some of those visualizations become a reality. In fact, thinking beyond today can be really exciting, and as this high school senior attests, can help you take charge of your life. I've never planned a thing in my life. I just do things as they pop up. The thought that one should have an end in mind never, ever entered my mind. It's been so exciting to learn because I suddenly find myself thinking beyond the now. I am now not only planning my education, but also thinking about how I want to raise my kids, how I want to teach my family, and what kind of home life we should have. I'm taking charge of me and not blowing in the wind anymore. Why it's so important to have an end in mind? I'll give you two good reasons. The first is that you're at a critical crossroads in your life, and the paths you choose now can affect you forever. The second is that if you don't decide your own future, someone else will do it for you. The crossroads of life. Let's take a look at the first important reason. So here you are. You're young. You're free. You have your whole life before you. You're standing at the crossroads of life and you have to choose which paths to take. Do you want to go to college? Graduate school? Do you want to travel? Learn another language? Should you try out for a team? What type of friends do you want to have? Will you cut class again? Do you want a date? What kind of person? Will you have sex before marriage? Will you drink, smoke, do drugs? What values will you choose? What kind of relationships do you want with your family? What will your attitude toward life be? What will you stand for? How will you contribute to your community? The paths you choose today can shape you forever. It's both frightening and exciting that we have to make so many vital decisions during the 7 years of teenagehood when we're so young and full of hormones, but such is life. What about friends? Take your choice of friends as an example. Have you ever noticed what a powerful influence they can have on your attitude, your reputation, and direction? The need to be accepted and be part of a group is powerful, but too often we choose our friends based on whoever will accept us, and that's not always good. For example, to be accepted by the kids who do drugs, all you have to do is do drugs yourself. The wrong group can lead you down all kinds of paths you really don't want to be on, and retracing your steps can be a long, hard journey. Sometimes it's actually better to just hang out alone, to be honest. If you're having trouble making good friends, remember that your friends don't always have to be your age. I once spoke to a guy who only had a few friends at school, but he did have a grandpa who listened to him, made him laugh, and was a great friend. It filled the popularity void he had in his life. It can feel empowering to connect with people over the internet or through apps, especially when you're struggling to connect with people in person. Ben's story goes like this. Last fall, I got pretty into online gaming, and it was a really good way to connect with people who were into the same kinds of stuff as me, stuff that other people called nerdy. I didn't know that many people at my new school, but I had this really amazing supportive community online. There were chat threads that all the users commented on, and there were some really interesting people on it. It felt safe to finally talk with people who didn't make fun of me for being into games, and I thought about meeting a group of them in person. Then I remembered hearing news stories about cyberstalkers and online harassment, and that kind of freaked me out. I just realized that I had to be smart. I mean, all these people I was talking to seemed cool, not dangerous, but I just knew I shouldn't share personal info with them or meet them because really, I didn't know who they were. So I told them I didn't feel comfortable meeting, and most of them agreed that was cool, so we just left it at an online friendship. Only once did someone really creep me out. One user asked me for my address and photo, but before I ever even started stressing about it, I realized I could be in control of the situation. I blocked them and never heard from them again. Actually, having this community online has made me more confident, and I've been making more friends at my new school. You can't be too careful about sharing personal info online, and Ben seemed to have got it down. Even if you video chat with someone or follow them on Instagram and they seem nice or attractive, there's no way of knowing that they're not a total psycho in person. What about sending explicit texts or sexting photos of yourself, even to someone you already know and trust? It might seem funny at the time, but who knows what the person you're sending them will will wind up doing down the road. What if you and your boyfriend or girlfriend break up and they wind up sharing your texts or photos to hurt you? Ouch. It seems like once a week some celebrity or politician is getting in trouble for that sort of thing. If you keep your end in mind and avoid these kinds of situations, there's way less risk of having someone take advantage of you. The long and short of it is, just be wise when choosing friends and partners. Be selective about the people you trust because so much of your future hangs on whom you hang out with. A personal note about that, or another note about that, is remember those things are illegal too. What about sex? And what about sex? Talk about an important decision. If you wait until the heat of the moment to choose which path to take, it's too late. Decide now. The path you choose affects your health, the way you feel about yourself, how fast you grow up, your reputation, whom you'll date and perhaps marry, and so much more. Think this decision through carefully. One way to do this is to imagine the kind of person you hope to end up with. How do you hope your future mate is leading his or her life right now? In a recent poll, going to the movies was ranked as a favorite pastimes of teens. I love movies too, so I'm right there with you. But I'd be careful about the values they promote. Most movies lie, especially when it comes to issues like sex. They glamorize sleeping around and having one-night stands without addressing the potential risks and consequences. The movies don't show you the life-altering reality of contracting a sexually transmitted infection, STI, or a disease like AIDS. They rarely address what it's like to become pregnant and have to deal with everything that brings with it. They don't tell you what it's like living on a minimum wage because you had to drop out of high school, and the father of a child is long gone and sends no money. Or what it's like spending your weekends changing diapers and caring for a baby instead of cheering on your volleyball team, going to dances, and just being a kid. We are free to choose our paths, but we can't choose the consequences that come with them. Have you ever gone water sliding? You can choose which slide you want to go down, but once you're sliding, you can't very well stop. You must live with the consequences to the end. A teenage girl from Illinois shared this story. I had one bad year, my freshman year, when I did everything from drinking, drugs, older guys, bad crowds, etc., mostly because I was frustrated and unhappy. It just lasted a year, but I'm still paying for those past mistakes. No one forgets, and it's hard to have to deal with a past you aren't too proud of. I feel as though it will haunt me forever. All kinds of people still come up to my boyfriend and say, I hear your girlfriend drinks and smokes and is easy, and things like that. But the worst is probably the fact that every time I have a problem of any kind, I immediately think maybe if I hadn't done that, and everything would be okay. What about school? What you do about your schooling can also shape your future in a major way. Krista's experience shows how beginning with the end in mind in your educational pursuits pays off. As a junior in high school, I decided to take an advanced placement AP U.S. history class. At the end of the year, I'd have a chance to take a national exam to qualify for college credit. It was difficult to keep up. But I was determined to do well in the class and pass the exam. With this goal in mind, it was easy to put in my full effort. One assignment was particularly time-consuming. The instructor asked each student to watch a documentary on the Civil War and write a paper on each segment. The series lasted 10 days, and each segment was 2 hours long. As an active high school student, it was difficult to find the time, but I did. I submitted the report and discovered I was one of only a handful of students who watched the series. The day of the exam finally arrived. The students were nervous and the air was thick. The test administrator announced to begin. I took a deep breath and broke the seal on the first section, multiple choice. With each question, I gained confidence. I knew the answers. I completed the section several minutes before I finished, pencils down. Next, we would each write an essay. I nervously opened the seal of the essay book and scanned the questions quickly. I answered a question related to the Civil War using references from my reading as well as a documentary. I felt calm and confident as I completed the exam. Several weeks later, I received my score in the mail. I had passed.